Hey, everybody. Welcome today. We have a special guest with us here today. We have Paul Wilson here. Welcome, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Paul is awesome. Paul is big into the website called Why Institute. And Paul is the man and he helps you find you. Is that right, Paul?
That's pretty much it. We like to help people figure out who they are. A lot of people don't know who they are, so we want to help them find out who they
That's true. I like that. That's a good way to put it. So, Paul actually, we'll get right into this. Paul actually had me take this test. Paul, do you want to kind of explain what the test is real quick and then
are.
I'll
First of
show
all,
you
I'll
what it
tell you
is?
it's not a
Technical
test.
difficulties
Oh,
here.
you're right. It's not a
It's
test.
not a
It's
test.
not a test.
It's important because there's no wrong or right answers.
You're
It's a
right.
survey.
That's true.
So I communicated with Chris, and I created. He went through the test and he created his own YOS, which I'm going to give you another word for in just a minute. But
Perfect.
then Chris connected me to you, and you got the survey, and you took the survey, and your survey results were given to you, and you have three sentences that were the short version, the simple YOS, the simple Y operating system. So if you read those, I want to talk to you and your audience about what those three why, how, and what mean.
Perfect. So, to preface this, he's right. It's not a test. It's literally like just statements, like less than a sentence sometimes. And I was told go with your gut feeling. There's 2 to 5 sentences or statements you read, and it just says click the one that your gut feels is most like you. That's it. That's all it is. You take about I don't know, it's about 30 of them or so, and
Yeah,
you just do it. And so this is what it pops out. It learns a lot about you. So I'll actually share here so we can. So this is my why right here. So my why, and Paul help me out here. Why I believe that success happens when we make sense of the complex.
right. Say makes sense.
Yep, super simple. And then my how. This is my personal how. How I do that is by making things simple and easy to use.
Yes.
And my what is ultimately what I bring is an outside the box solution.
Challenge the status quo. That might be you, Chris.
Yeah, I
So
think that's me.
I'm sorry. No, Brian. So as you read that, Brian, how'd that feel?
It feels pretty spot on. Like I really think about the way I approach things and how I've approached things in the past specifically, and I'm like, yeah, I try and do that. Like it's pretty spot on.
That's the response we get from most people. Once in a while, when a person reads their YOS and I ask them to read it and say, how's it feel? Occasionally I get somebody doing a pushback. My daughter's a classic case of that because she's a makes sense, just like you are a makes sense.
Yeah,
And she argued with me for about 5 minutes. And then
Oh
eventually,
yeah.
yeah, you know what, Dad? You're right. I needed to make sense of it. So I think that the algorithm that has been created is absolutely incredible. There's over 1,600 questions in the big algorithm.
wow. Okay,
When you take the survey though, as soon as you answer one question, a number of questions fall off. So it's one of these things where it's an iterative process, and the more people that take it, the better it gets.
that's cool.
So it really is spot on. So
Well, yeah.
I like in the
Uh,
why, the how, and the what. So those are the three things. Simon Sinek wrote a book back in 2005 or six or seven, somewhere back in there. And the name of the book was Start with Why. He created a TED Talk called The Golden Circle.
Hmm.
If you've not seen that, I encourage people to see that because it is
It's
incredible. It really
wonderful.
is.
I have seen it. I encourage it too. It's
And that's
wonderful.
so that's the how, the why, the how, and the what. And that is you. Most people talk about what we do.
yeah.
Occasionally we talk about how we do what we do, but rare do people say, why do you do?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so Gary Sanchez, Dr. Gary Sanchez is a well-known, very successful dentist in Albuquerque. He read the book. He got a hold of Simon and said, I'd like to know more about this. And so they consulted. Gary eventually uncovered, revealed his own why, which is Better Way. And he created this algorithm. He created the Institute and then over time, this survey was created. I think it's masterful. When I first took the survey, it was a interview. I'm going to interview you. You tell me what's going on. I'll ask you questions. I give you more questions, and you'll eventually tell me what your why is. Mm-hmm. Just based on, you'll use certain words over and over and over again. And that's how this started. Then eventually Gary created the algorithm to help people find out not only their why, but also their how and what.
It's awesome.
Which is incredible. So those three things together is what Gary calls the why operating system.
That's cool.
And are you guys using AI with this process?
It wasn't used initially, but now that AI is here, we're actually creating more and more and more tools for us to work with. We have a new tool I'll send to you. I just got it a couple of days ago. Of when you are in this case, you are a make sense. And when you're talking to somebody that's a simplify, these are some things you want to not say. And these are some things to concentrate on.
That's awesome.
Because we all have differences. Well, you've heard of, the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yep.
Every great religion in the world has it. But we like to talk about the platinum rule. And this is the platinum rule. Do unto others as they would have done to them.
Yep.
So now that I know your why, Brian, Chris, now that I know your why, I can communicate better to you and with you because I know your why. I know your language. I know what floats your boat. I know what that burning bright light is on the inside of you. Before that, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That makes
sense.
sense.
So it's really, what's your language? Well, thank you very much. It's make sense, challenge, and simplify. So I'm going to talk with you. I'll talk about doing the make sense stuff. Stuff has to make sense for you. The why in this algorithm really is like a vehicle.
Okay.
Think about a vehicle. You're going to go somewhere, so you need a vehicle. The what or the how in this case is like the ignition key. You need to be able to start it up. So how you operate, in your case, it's challenging the status quo, is the key. It's the ignition. It gets the motor running and it gets the vehicle moving. And then the what is what you bring to the table at your destination. So where are you going? And so you're going to take your vehicle with an ignition to your destination, and you operate in a way where you want to challenge the status quo. So you're always thinking outside the box. That doesn't work for me. Let me think of something else that might work. One of the examples I like to talk about on the YOS is somebody like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is talked about by Simon Sinek on his Golden Circle video. And Steve Jobs is, think about this now, he's a challenge to status quo. That's what his why is.
Yep. That's me.
Yeah. His what or his how is simplify, and his how or what is better way. So he makes an instrument like this that challenges the status quo. It's pretty simple, and it's really a better way. So if you know anybody that's an Apple person, don't even think about getting an Android.
No way. I can't do it.
You know what I say? How many people stood? Yeah. You know what I say? How many people stood in line for an Android? No one.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing this, seeing Brian's and mine, being that my why is challenge, my what is clarify, and my how is mastery. And, Brian's got that challenge in there as his what, I believe.
Yep.
And the mastery I have is like my how, which I'm, it makes sense with us being partners. Like I went in and I want to master, like I bring that like, okay, this has to be like, we have to know everything. And we have to know how, even if we're not going to do it, we need to know it. And so I really am happy that you came on here, and I thought this would be a great thing for our audience because we get a lot of people, I think they don't know what they're doing and they operate these businesses and they come in with these um, different things where it seems like, do you even know why you're doing this?
That's a good point. And the truth is that we actually have a program where we come in into a company and do a team YOS.
That's cool.
So everybody does their OS, and then we put it on a matrix where everybody knows all 9 of their whys in order, in sequence, and see where there might be some issues,
Yep.
see where there might be some people in the wrong line, on the wrong seat. You like
That's
people,
true.
you build your team. You don't want your accountant to be a simplify guy.
Yeah,
To be really
that's true.
detailed guy,
That's true.
for instance. So everybody, if you look at a person's position, and here's another thing, like for instance, whoever the boss is, if everybody on the boss's team knows what the boss's why, how, and what is, and the boss is gone, they'll know how to respond to issues without having to bug him while he's gone on something. Now,
Putting
obviously,
people
the
together.
boss is going to give direction, but it's just really important. Otherwise, when a boss leaves and people don't know what he would do or think, they're paralysis.
Well, yeah. And then, the natives go crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately, in fact, I'm getting ready to do a presentation this evening to uh, a local audience here about the why, and I've renamed it. It's still the YOS, but let me just give you this question. You know how we all are doing whatever we're doing. Einstein actually said we're all geniuses.
Yeah,
Do you believe that?
I
I do.
believe almost everybody is a genius.
This is what he also said. But if you're a fish trying to climb a tree, you'll spend your whole life thinking you're stupid.
Yep.
So you may be in the wrong pond, you may be on the wrong vehicle, or you may be just misaligned. You need to have a reset. And so one of the things that I think is the YOS, the new GPS. Let me tell you what the GPS stands for. I got this a couple of days ago. The Genius Positioning System.
I like it.
Your why is a genius positioning system because it helps you get clear, play bigger, and stay alive.
Yep.
It's like GPS, GPS, GPS all the way because it is about your genius. Because you are a genius, Brian, when you're in your wheelhouse. And your wheelhouse is your YOS. Chris, you are a genius when you're in your YOS. When you step outside of your comfort zone, you're out of your wheelhouse. I don't mean wheelhouse. You can't do something else, but you're
Sure.
not as good at being Chris as Chris is.
That's true.
And
Mm.
your genius is really identified by your why operating system, which I think is kind of, I knew that already, but I wanted to put a genius word around it because that's your genius.
That's one thing that we actually try and instill in business owners we talk to is at some point when they started a business, they enjoyed what they're doing or they really focus on what they were good at. As their business grows, they want to learn more things or your business just changes, right? The market changes, the way you
Yes.
sell changes, things like that. And sometimes you forget along the way what you're actually good at. Or you don't know how to implement, right, somebody or delegate to whatever, giving away what you're not good at. And so we talk to people and have to remind them, what are you best at? Oh yeah, you're best at this. Okay, so why don't you delegate the rest out, right? And people lose their way, along the growth and development of their business. So
Automate, delegate, eliminate.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
also, once again, coming back to knowing where your roots are, right, and knowing what you're best at, so you can offload the rest, right? So
Absolutely vital. I'm coming from a real estate background. Before that, I was in the Marine Corps for 24 years. There's a lot of stuff that I don't do well, and
yeah,
I shouldn't be trying. I don't want to be a VA. I don't want to do the real detail work. I'm not good at that. I can do it. I don't like it, and it
Yeah.
drains my energy. For instance,
That's how we teamed up. I was like, you're gonna do this,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
exactly
gonna do
right.
this because that is what you're excellent at, and I
Sure.
am not. And I know that. Like, you don't want me in control of the business's money, for sure. uh, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's not my thing. It's too precise. It's too
all right,
exact. And I, as we saw in my why, my how, and my what, that I like to challenge. I like to go against the grain, and I can't. You can't have that big of a risk taker in charge of the money
no,
in any business.
no,
So
Yeah.
no. That's when you want the right way. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example of my son is a physician. His why is right way, better way, contribute.
Oh, that's nice.
Right
which is
way. I
good
want my
for a
doctor to
doctor.
be doing right way. I want him to be doing the right way. And I
True.
want him to be doing better way because there's a better way to do it, but mainly right way, then better way, then contribute. And that's who he is.
That's cool.
And that's
And it
why I
fits
like
right
to
in
say
there.
who you are is your why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
So
show
yeah,
you.
no,
Let's pull up this screenshot real quick. And Paul, if you want to go more in depth on these, we'll just share a little bit more in-depth results for this on these real
okay.
quick. So, as we go through this, right, why, how, and what. So we'll start with the why right here.
Okay.
Success comes from making sense of the complex challenge. I'm the ultimate problem solver. Here's where I can see right here. Uncanny ability to take in lots of data, lots of information, and make it understandable. So I can consider all the factors and problems and solutions, and I have a gift for articulating a solution that summarizes it clearly. This is so exact. I can pull probably off the top of my head 3, and if I really dig deep, I can pull like 10, 12, 15 examples of where I've done this in business life. Super, like, very much so. Where I've sat in front of 1 or 6 or 12 people, and everybody has a different understanding of what's going on, and then we just bring the concept together and say, let's accomplish this, right? And so this, I mean, this is pretty spot on, Paul.
And
Like,
when you couple that with your how, you take large stuff and break it down into understandable, relatable components.
yeah,
That's what's so cool about the three of these things just interlocking very nicely. I haven't
th-
I haven't told you how to do this yet because I just got your why yesterday. But one of the things we ask people to do is to do a personal statement. And how you do that is by taking one sentence from your why. There's one sentence in there that resonates more than any other. Take two sentences from your simple how, and two sentences from your what. Now you can start out by having all the how, all the why, and all the what together, but then reducing them. But talking about powerful, if
yeah.
somebody comes up to you and says, Brian, who are you? You'll say, well, thanks for asking. Here's my sheet.
Yeah. Let me,
And we
that's
wouldn't
cool.
do that. But the thing is that you'll get a better feel for who you are because that's you. I had a gal the other day that I did a why on it, and I was actually presenting it to her group. And her why was better way. And so we did her statement and we read it. And one of the words that just jumped out at me, and I highlighted this to the group, was innovate. Because people that are better way innovate. And I turned to her and I said, so you're a better way, aren't you? She said, yeah, I like to do things better. And I said, you've never called yourself an innovator, have you? She said, no. I said, you're an innovator, aren't you? Yeah, yeah, that's
There you
me.
go.
Words mean things. And when people can actually get magnetized to a word or a concept, first of all, their self-image improves. Not that anybody on this call would need a self-image improvement, but the thing is that you know that you know that you know, and you don't know the words.
Yeah.
And this gives you the words.
I love it. I
Uh,
love
Yeah.
it.
that's
I
what's
mean, that's really
yes.
interesting when you said that. Like, take one sentence, like, um, I love to think differently, and I want to change the world, and I really like to seek out information and all the knowledge I can get, not on a super level, a sub superficial level, and I believe there's always more to learn about something, and I like people to be clear so that I like to use analogies and metaphors and things so people can understand and get a real visual picture of what it is I'm talking about.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It is
It's
crazy,
powerful.
and the algorithm that Gary has, and all the things that he has created in this program are just mind-boggling. How did he
And
know?
then yeah,
How did he
and
know?
then
It's true.
coupled with AI and what it can do in processing the information, I believe it's just going to make your business and this model and that just that much better. Um,
I
I
agree.
really see how this could help businesses, people personally, and like you were talking about, this will help you in your relationships at home with your wife, your kids, your family, your mother. I
Mother-in-law.
was a mother-in-law. If you still
Yeah.
have one of those. Well, Paul, Paul's been married 100 times, so
Uh,
No,
he knows about those. I'm just
92.
kidding.
I tell people I like wedding cake. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Paul, check this out. So my house says um, simplify, right? And there's a sentence in here that says life is better when it's simple and uncluttered. This has been true ever since I was a kid. The farthest back I can remember of that being true was when I was learning to ride a bike. You're 6-ish years old, 6 or 7,
Yeah, yeah.
and you weeble wobble all over the place. My friends could all ride bikes. I was kind of the last one to learn how to ride a bike. And I asked my friend, right? Your parents hold the seat and they tell you to balance like this and all this stuff. But I asked my friend, I was like, how do you ride a bike? And he said, well, I just pedal and then I pedal faster and then I just don't fall down. And I was like, okay. And I just did it. And as soon as he said that, I could ride a bike, right? Now I had practice, but as soon as he said it that easily, I was like, oh, okay. Just pedal faster.
Simple.
So simple. And another example is in high school when I was running track. Um, Coach literally said to teammates, we were all in 10 of us in a circle or whatever. And coach literally goes, and if Brian would just run faster, he'd be a really good runner. And I was like, all I have to do is run faster? Now this is track. That's all you do is run. And it never clicked until he said it. And the very next track meet, I dropped like in the mile, I dropped like 35 seconds off my time or something, just outrageous. Just because I was like, oh, I'll just run harder. Like so simple, right? And that's I got more examples, but those are just super simple examples of how things just click when you just say, oh, just do better. Like, oh yeah, okay, why not? so so yeah, it really hits hard. Either spot on.
And then we get into your challenge. The challenge, the status quo box. Is there a box? There's no box.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
There is
well,
no
yeah.
box.
Challenge is my why, so there you go.
Your
Chris,
why
don't
and
do that.
Brian's
You can't do this. Yeah.
watch
Well,
Dude, Chris, you can't do that. Yeah, just watch. What do you mean I can't? Yes, I can.
well
It's that
and
oh,
old Bugs Bunny. Cross this line. Okay.
cross
No,
this.
now cross this line.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, and that's about life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. And so I guess you could call your YOS your superpower.
yeah. Yeah.
Genius. It really is. And you've already done that. You already knew that. You were already operating in it. The difference is that before you took the YOS, before you took the survey, you couldn't articulate who you were.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
you
makes
could say
sense.
what your name was and what you did, but in terms of being able to tell people your superpower, to tell people what your genius
Hmm.
was, couldn't do it.
This is useful
Yeah.
too for like job interviews. When you're going in for a job interview, I mean, 80% of it is can you, or 20% of it is can you do the work, right? Like if you show up, like they're expecting you to be able to do the work. But it's are you the right seat on the bus, right? And so if you know this about yourself, then you'll be able to articulate yourself a whole lot better when they say, "Oh, tell me about yourself." Boom.
Yeah.
Like you can go right there.
Yeah. Well, why do you do what you do instead of placing reasons of, oh, I want to take care of my mom, or I want to, give my
Yeah.
kids, a ton of money when I die or whatever. Like those are good reasons, but that isn't
Who you are.
really what's
Exactly.
driving you to accomplish
Exactly.
those things, I
Yeah.
think.
When Chris and I started talking, and one of the questions I asked him is, "What's your why?"
Yeah.
Mhm.
The initial the initial effort by most people is talking about their wife or their husband or their
Hmm.
kids. That's not a why. Like you said, Chris, it might be a reason to get up
Mhm.
in the morning, but the real why, the real how, the real what are on the inside of you. I call it the burning bright light inside of you. It's going on. And in so many people, that bright light has been dimmed because they're misplaced, because they're misaligned, or they're not on the right bus. They're on the right bus but the wrong seat.
Yep. That too.
There's a statistic out that blew me away when I heard it, but then I thought about it and I'm thinking maybe it's low. But Gallup did a recent survey and said that 68% of the workforce is in some level disengaged.
Yep.
And if you think about that, I hope they're not on my airplane when I'm flying,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they're not
Yeah.
driving when I'm driving, because I mean, people are disengaged when they're driving. So there's a lot of disengagement in this life because people aren't doing what they need to be doing. They're doing stuff because they have to, because they enjoy food with their meals about the job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the truth is, if people would only know who they are and then do, in fact, Cynic even talked about this. He said that people can be achievers doing things that make them happy, money wise. But the truly successful people are people that are in their why, doing the why work, doing what makes them, using their genius
That's
in their
awesome.
work.
Yeah.
And that's
And I
why,
think that makes sense. That statistic, it's like 68% of the workforce being disengaged, and that's why I think we're seeing a rise in in people leaving, quote unquote, the workforce, getting out of their jobs. Like, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to teach people this. I'm going to coach people this. I'm going to try a whole new business. Me and Brian, like, he was in solar. I was doing hair, for crying out loud. Now we sell AI to people for businesses and do marketing. Like, who would
Yep.
have thought? But it's something that I was, you know, let's go for it, and I think that's, we're seeing a transition with people that they're discovering, wow, I'm actually miserable. Doesn't matter how much I'm getting paid every year. I'll walk away from that because I'm not happy. And that probably comes down because you're not operating in your why.
it's got
It's
to be
true.
more to it than this. And I'm thinking, wake up in the morning one morning and say, is this all there is? Is this it? This is not the life I was thinking about when I was going to college, or when I was in high school, or when I was talking about this when I was a little boy at 5 or 6. It's got to be more than this. And I think the real
Well,
key is finding your sweet spot, finding your genius, and then working in your genius.
that's cool.
Or alternately, doing something to make money so you can eat. And then when you're not working, go for the gold when you're in your why.
Yeah.
There's a book
Yeah.
out years ago I read, and I actually gave to my daughter when she was in college. It's called Work with Passion. And people need to work with passion. Otherwise, they're just disenchanted, disengaged, and doing the minimum they can to get by, processing food and occupying time and space. That's it.
Ever been to a DMV or a government building to try? That's right. At its finest,
That's a
right
good one.
there.
Well, been
Yeah.
to been to a government building, Brian,
Yeah.
lately where nobody's there.
Yep.
Where no
Yeah, that's
one's there.
right.
They all been fired.
In
Well, they're all
California.
working out of their home. They're
Yeah.
they're at home disengaged.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
That's
Well,
specific
this is
questions you might have about this? I'll be happy to share more of this. I'm really glad to be able to talk to you about my passion. This is my passion.
Yeah, no, this is awesome, Paul. Is there anything? So after you take or after you go through the assessment,
After
is
you
there
take the
any?
test, you're going to say that. I know that.
I stopped it because it's not a test. It's not a test. After you go through the assessment, what's kind of a next step? Like, how do you apply this? What's the
Well,
best
thank
way
you
to
for that.
use the
Yeah,
application?
there's a couple of things you can do. A lot of it is just self-assessment.
Sure.
Where are you? Where do you want to go? Uh, there are some programs out there. I would encourage people to get into a coaching program if they don't know. But they take the tools. And what I will do, and I haven't done with this with you or Chris yet, but I will send you a summary of that, and then suggest that you do the why statement, your personal statement, and then we can have a conversation, 15 or 20 minutes. I call that the activator. It's a genius activator, so that you really are fully engaged in who you are. And then I have some coaching programs. I'm
Love
a
it.
coach,
hmm
and maybe just do some self-analysis. There's a number of books out there. One of them that I think is a really good one is Richard Bowles' book, What Color's Your Parachute? As a for instance, if people need to figure out what they need to do next, that's a good book to go to.
What
Or get
colors?
into coaching, getting a group coaching program or one-on-one coaching program,
hmm
and a lot of that starts with taking the survey, and then I'll have a conversation with them or whoever they have a conversation with to energize them about where they want to go. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I think in the bigger scheme of things, knowing what your how, why, and what are is a great first step.
That's
And then if
awesome.
you're on a phone call with me, which you will be, I'll say, okay, what's your book? What's the name of your book? We've talked about that, Chris. I know I
A
talked
little
about
bit.
Julia. Yeah, Julia, the same thing. It's like, what's your book? You got a book in you. What's the name of your book? You have a book yet?
I love
Breaking
it.
all the rules.
That's, uh,
That's a good, what you do because you have life experience. You both have life experience.
yeah,
hmm
And I've got a book. Everybody has a book or two or three in them. And maybe that's a good first start about figuring out what you want to do. Because if you look back on your life and figure out what you've been happy, figure out where you haven't been so happy, figure out what you really like doing, figure out things you don't like to do. Just the self-analysis and self-assessment is something that's very important.
that's pretty amazing. Do you know who Brad Lee is, Paul?
I don't know.
Brad Lee's he's big in business. And he has a very dominant podcast, and he has a different guest every single day. A week ago or so, he had someone on there who speaks, right, like a master speaker, gives
Mhm.
like 100 speeches a year or something like that.
Wow.
And he asked Brad, he's like, Brad, how come you don't like speaking on stage? And Brad's like, I never know what to say. And he's like, Brad, what are you talking about? Like you're a very predominant person in the business industry. Like how do you not know what to say? And he's like, never thought about it. And so when you say what's the name of your book, even top level people, right? There's still things that they can go through and learn. If Brad had the name of his book, he could probably know what to say on stage, right? And so that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just connecting with people, right? It's how you can connect with
Well,
people.
yeah. Tell me what you want to know. So, from my particular, I've already been published as a contributing author to a best-selling book, which is kind of cool. So I can say
Awesome.
I'm an author of a best-selling book. I
That's
didn't
cool.
write the whole book. I just wrote a chapter.
Which book?
Thanks for
Oh, yeah.
asking.
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
There. Oh, yeah. Look at
True
Just
that.
get
authenticity.
backwards.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So and it's with Jack Canfield and 30 other famous or soon-to-be famous authors.
Yeah.
Guess what I wrote on? What was the subject of my topic?
The
The
name of the book.
the big why and the little why.
I like it.
Because
And
we all
why is a crooked letter?
that's right. Well, we all have big whys and little whys. It's like little kids say why all the time. It's probably the third word they say.
Yeah.
hmm
Mama, no,
Food. Yeah.
why?
Yeah,
Those,
Yeah.
my kids, they
True.
never stop saying it. Why? Why?
that's right. So, in bottom line, so let me tell you about my book. I'll just give you an idea, an example. I want my I want my granddad to tell me something, and he never did. So my cousin was asking his mom about what did Granddad say? He was Oklahoma dirt farmer and rancher, and he had some. He was a Will Rogers kind of guy, and so most of what his sayings were pretty salty, and they had some words in it that we wouldn't necessarily bring to the stage. But
Yeah.
the thing is, he had some pretty good things about life. Is, for instance, you can't play with poop without getting it on you.
Yeah.
Talking
Yeah.
about friends, right?
Yep.
So watch out. So I wanted to have some stuff from him, and he didn't give them to me, but I got them through my cousin. One-liners, about 25 of them, and I'm thinking, why don't I do that for my kids, my grandkids? So the name of my book is The Invisible Backpack
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Other Stories I Want to Tell My Grandkids.
That's cool.
So these are short chapters, 2 or 3 or 4 pages each, maybe with illustrations, uncolored, so people can color. It's a joke. Uh,
I was like, all right.
yeah, although it's not a bad idea. But the thing, just the things about light, make your bed,
Yep.
stay in your lane.
Yep.
Those kind of things that are common sense, but are not necessarily common.
Yeah.
And just give them a little piece of me. And then once I write the book, I'll read the book so that they can have an audio of me when I'm not around anymore.
That's beautiful.
But it's just
Nice.
that's just something that we all have a book in us. You've lived life, and how many different careers have you had already?
Oh,
Three. Just three for me.
There's three books right there.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
So
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a few careers myself, and so there's a lot of things that I probably ought to put on paper to leave behind, so that others can at least have the benefit of learning from my experience or not. They don't have to learn. They can. They don't have
Yeah.
to. Listen to me.
Well,
No, don't listen to me. I'm going to tell you anyway. So
well,
there you
Well,
go.
yeah.
we need to start a t-shirt company, a positive t-shirt company that sells what you said, right? Can't
Yeah,
play in poop
yep.
without getting it on you, stuff, and then
Oh
have a
yeah.
picture of like
I
two
need to
friends
make
or
that
something. Yeah.
for Christmas. Everybody gets one for Christmas. Right?
Yep.
That's fun.
Uh,
So,
It's really
but
great.
yeah, it's great having you on here, Paul. Like, I just was really inspired by you and your energy
yeah.
right from the get-go. You were one of the first people I met when we went to that event, and it was just infectious. And your engagement in the whole weekend and with people, it was just really inspiring. And I was like, I had to have you come and talk on our show and put this out to our audience. We got Julia out here. She says she loves the concept of your book in the chat.
Yeah, love
She
it.
can't read to read it. And this was really great to share. It's just something for everyone going into business, in business, and just in life
Like,
to think about, I think. And I really thank you for taking some time out of your Friday to come here. I know you do a lot of things and working on a lot of things, and you got big plans. Um, so really, we truly appreciate you coming and sharing your
well,
gifts
I'm
with
really
us.
very
Yeah,
honored that
thank you,
you would
Paul.
have me on, Chris. I'm glad it's quite a thrill to be able to energize people, inspire people. And my goal is to inspire enough people that, well, not everybody wants to be inspired, very honestly.
That's true.
Leave me alone. I'm good. Okay.
Yeah,
And yet the people that need it
yeah.
are open. So that's good. So
So
thank you for being
yeah,
open to the conversation, and Julia as well, and Brian certainly with you. And
No,
then
it's been
more.
wonderful, Paul. I mean, I feel rejuvenated. I'm a very self like I can self motivate and things like that, and I can rejuvenate in others. But Paul, it's always going to be around like minded people, man. I do feel rejuvenated from it, so
Well, good. I'm
feels
glad.
great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
well,
Shall
I
I
can
get
be a
you off?
stick in the mud, so I like having a partner that's always. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, we went on our first trip together, and I was like, man, this guy, man, he just always positive, like always, like never a complaint, like, oh yeah, whatever, let's go. And it's great to be around people like that, and you, and I think this was a great show and a lot of great information.
Can't
Yeah,
fix it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's true.
exactly.
That's true. Move it
So
on.
should I give him my email or my phone number?
Yes,
Yeah,
tell
Paul,
us
where do
where
where
can
can
we
people
find you?
find you?
Well, let's see. So my email is paul@wilsonabq.com. ABQ for Albuquerque.
All
Pilots
right.
don't know how to spell Albuquerque, so they just say ABQ.
True.
Paul at Wilson ABQ. My website is youbeyourownboss.com. You, be your own boss. If you abbreviate the be your own boss, it's BYOB. And so you can do a YOUBYOB.com, and that'll take you to the same place. People say,
That's awesome.
BYOB, what's that about? Be your own boss.
That's all right. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So either one of those will get me there. And I appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much, Chris.
And go
Good
buy
to
his
see you.
book. Go buy his bestseller published book. Get it
Well, wait
knocked
Show us
up
that one
more
more.
on that bestseller list.
Wait until the backpack book comes out.
Oh
Wait for
no,
that.
I'm excited for that one. Show
Well,
us that book
people,
one more time. Authenticity. I missed the first two words.
the keys to authenticity.
The keys. There it is. The keys to authenticity. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna
So,
check that one out.
yeah, and if you want, what I'll do, I'll just send you my chapter. There's a lot of good books or good chapters in here, right behind mine.
Yeah.
That's
Well
right.
said.
That's
Well
right.
said.
Hey, that's right. That's
Which
why you're on
chapter?
this show.
That's
Which
right.
chapter is yours, Paul? Which chapter is yours?
I don't know what the number is, but it's on page 89.
89.
See, 89, 89, 89. Yeah. Dang. Where is it? Where is it?
After 88.
Yeah, that's right. Chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Chapter
Wonderful.
9.
Paul's
Mighty
chapter is
fine.
chapter 9. The keys
Chapter
to
9, mighty
authenticity.
fine.
That's
There you
great.
go. That's right.
Love it. Love
Good
it.
to see y'all. Thank you for doing what you do, and let's keep it rolling.
Better believe
Yes,
it, Paul.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Lots,
much.
lots to implement. So I'm excited. I'm excited to move forward with implementing some of the stuff I've been shown. So this is
Rock and
great.
roll.
And
Thank you all.
any of your friends or customers or clients interested in AI for their business, send them our way to Aid Media Now.
What's that website?
aidmedianow.com.
Well, there you go. What kind of stuff do you do? Tell them while we're on this thing. What kind of stuff do you do that you might be able to help them with?
Well, we can help them with customer service representatives, outbound sales agent or appointment setters. We specialize in voice AI. So, you need a receptionist, you need a customer service rep, an information line, pretty much anything that has to do with call related.
Anything you need to connect with your customers, we're good at that. So
That's a great thing. Can you do robocalls
yeah,
to a
Well, they
database?
sound human. They're not really a robot.
That's what I mean. But the robo, in the sense of doing it automatically.
Oh,
yep,
yes.
we can auto call a big list. Yep.
One of the questions, we get into real estate just real quickly here, but as a real estate coach, so I would ask new realtors coming into the business, how many times should you contact your database, the people in your stay in touch list every year?
hmm
The normal answer was anywhere from 2 to 5.
Oh
No.
no, it's like 12 or
No.
30.
You ready?
Yeah.
33 to 48.
Yeah. There
Yep.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you nuts? But one of the ways they could do it would be through those
With this.
calls.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's other ways to do it. There's text, emails, newsletters. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. But one of the things that might be something that you could look at is developing more ways to talk to people in that kind of related industry, so that they can have like every month
Yeah.
a call.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some stuff that we can talk later maybe about that, and I'll give you
We
some
can
other
definitely
ideas.
set that up. We can definitely set that up for
So
people.
that's another
So,
group of people that you could jump into, because it's people do. Okay, I'm gonna give you some information about the real estate 4-letter F word.
oh,
You ready? You didn't ask for this. I'm going to give it to you anyway.
I love it.
Flow, Flow.
Flow.
That's real estate, but it's really about life.
Yep.
Because people do business with people they're in flow with.
Yep.
And if there's other AI companies that people might know about, and you called them 7 months ago, and this other companies talked to them last week or last month, guess who they're going to do business with?
Yep. Someone they
And
remember.
there are exceptions, honestly, but
Mm-hmm.
but you just got to be in flow with people if you're going to be in business.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's true.
And sometimes we forget that.
It's true.
They know me. I know their mother and dad. I know their kids' names. I know they went to school, and they do some business with somebody else. Dagger to the heart.
The simplest way I could say that, Paul, is like we never pitch price unless we're in flow, or we try not to. I've actually told people, I'm like, I can't give you a price. We're not on the same page yet. Like, we don't have an understanding of what's going on with each other. They, not in flow. And they go, oh, what's that? What? Nobody ever says that to me. Anyways, we go from there. But
That's a great point, because they can inquire about your services and let's see if we can make a fit together. Yes, but if it's just inquiry, what's the rate?
And they just say, "Tell me the price. Tell me the price." I say $50,000.
Yeah.
And then they say, "That's crazy." I say, "That's right." You know what else is crazy? Not giving you a price and not knowing what you need.
Yeah.
That's crazy
true.
too.
Not knowing what you need and not knowing what you could provide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
My guess, if somebody said they wanted something, you could probably either give it to them out of the box or create it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because yours is such an evolving industry.
That's true. That's
I've
very true.
thought about that. Let's see if we can work on that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
very
I mean,
true.
it changes from last week to this week, so
Yeah.
sometimes the next day there's huge changes. So
In this cultural environment and what's going on in our culture anyway. Yeah, absolutely.
It's wild.
So it's good. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the time. Thank you for giving me the privilege of being on and talking with you and sharing these informations with your audience.
Paul, we're the
send
honored
them
ones.
on over
We're the
to our
honored
channel,
ones.
like, subscribe, follow us on all the socials, and yeah,
Will
awesome
do.
show. Thank you, sir.
Stalk you. Let's just say stalk me. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, we will keep in touch for sure.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Paul.
Chris.
It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Brian.
All right.
Bless y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Later, world. Peace.
Indeed.